The unwanted gift, the mining station ironhold, hung in the void like a metal spider, its mechanical arms reaching deep into the asteroid's core. Commander Marcus Chun stood before the main viewport of the command center, watching the distant stars. That had become his only companions over the past 3 years. The deep space mining operation was humanity's furthest outpost. A lonely sentinel on the edge of explored space. Marcus was a man shaped by solitude and responsibility. His weathered face bore the marks of countless decisions, each one carrying the weight of the 300 souls under his command. The mining station was more than just a facility. It was humanity's foothold in a galaxy that seemed determined to push them back into their own solar system. The proximity alarm shattered the routine silence of the command center. Marcus turned from the viewport as his communications officer, Sarah Martinez, looked up from her console with wide eyes. "Commander, we have incoming ships. Configuration unknown, but they're massive." Marcus moved to the central command station, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The tactical display materialized before him, showing 5 enormous vessels approaching from the galactic core. Each ship was 3 times the size of Ironhold itself, their sleek forms suggesting technology far beyond human capability. "Open a channel," Marcus commanded, his voice steady despite the ice forming in his stomach. First contact protocols had always been theoretical until now. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being that defied easy description. The creature stood nearly 9 feet tall, its elongated limbs covered in what appeared to be ceremonial armor. 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, studied Marcus with an intelligence that was both alien and unsettling. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am Ambassador Kethfor of the Galactic Hegemony. You will identify yourself, human." Marcus straightened, drawing on years of military training. "I am Commander Marcus Chun of the Terran Mining Consortium. This facility operates under the protection of the Earth Alliance." Kethfor's 4 eyes narrowed slightly, an expression that might have been amusement. "The Earth Alliance. Yes, we are aware of your expansion efforts. We come not as enemies, but as neighbors bearing gifts." The word gifts sent a chill down Marcus's spine. In his experience, gifts from superior powers usually came with strings attached. "What kind of gifts, Ambassador?" "Tribute, Commander. A gesture of goodwill between our species. We have brought you something that will demonstrate the hegemony's generosity and your people's place in the galactic order." Before Marcus could respond, the view screen shifted to show the interior of one of the alien ships. What he saw made his blood run cold. In the center of a sterile chamber stood a figure that was unmistakably alive, but bound by chains that seemed to pulse with their own malevolent energy. She was humanoid, but clearly alien, standing nearly 7 feet tall with skin that seemed to shift between pale silver and deep blue, depending on the light. Her hair was white as starlight, contrasting sharply with eyes that burned like twin suns. Most disturbing were the scars that covered her visible skin, not random marks, but deliberate patterns that spoke of systematic torture. "Behold," Kethfor announced with obvious satisfaction, "the last of the Vorthic warrior caste. A creature of legend, tamed for your service." Marcus felt his jaw clench. "Tamed?" "The Vorthic were once a proud species, Commander. They believed themselves superior to the natural order. They refused to acknowledge the hegemony's authority." Kethfor's voice carried the casual tone of someone discussing the weather. "This one is all that remains of their warrior class. She has been ... conditioned to serve." The being on the screen lifted her head, and Marcus saw something in her eyes that made his chest tighten. It wasn't the mindless stare of a broken creature, but the burning gaze of someone who had endured the unendurable and somehow remained unbroken. "I don't want your gift," Marcus said flatly. Kethver's expression shifted to something resembling surprise. You misunderstand, Commander. This is not a request. The hegemony has deemed this mining station worthy of protection. She will guard your facility against threats you cannot imagine. And if I refuse, then you demonstrate that humanity lacks the wisdom to accept generosity. The hegemony would be disappointed. The threat was as clear as vacuum. Marcus had seen enough of galactic politics to know that disappointing a superior power was often a fatal mistake. Very well. But I want to make one thing clear. Any being on this station follows my rules. Of course, Commander. She is yours to command as you see fit. The transport shuttle arrived 2 hours later, its alien design a stark contrast to the human vessels docked at Ironhold. Marcus waited in the main docking bay, flanked by his security chief and a small contingent of armed guards. The shuttle's ramp descended with a hydraulic hiss, revealing the interior. She walked down the ramp with dignity intact, despite the chains. The restraints were clearly more than simple metal. They pulsed with energy that seemed to cause her visible pain with each step. Yet she held her head high, her burning eyes taking in everything around her with the calculating gaze of a predator. Behind her came 2 hegemony guards, their weapons trained on her back. Ambassador Kethver descended last, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled humans with obvious disdain. Commander Chun, Kethver announced, may I present Zara, last of the Vorthic warrior-born. She has been trained in 17 forms of combat and conditioned to protect those she serves unto death. Marcus stepped forward, studying the chained figure. Up close, he could see the intelligence in her eyes, the way she assessed each human for threat potential. This was no mindless beast, but a warrior evaluating a battlefield. The chains, Marcus said quietly. Are they necessary? Kethver's expression shifted to what might have been amusement. Commander, you must understand. The Vorthic were apex predators on their world. Without restraints, she could kill everyone. On this station within minutes, the chains ensure compliance. I see. Marcus looked directly at Zara. What's your name? She stared at him for a long moment, her head tilting slightly as if the question confused her. When she spoke, her voice was rough from disuse, but carried an underlying strength. I am called Zara. Zara, my name is Marcus Chun. I'm the commander of this facility. Kethver intervened quickly. Commander, you must understand, she is not a guest. She is a tool, a weapon placed at your disposal. Do not mistake her for something she is not. Marcus felt anger building in his chest, but kept his voice level. I understand perfectly, Ambassador. Thank you for your generosity. The formal transfer took another hour, with Kethver explaining the various control mechanisms built into Zara's restraints. Marcus listened with growing disgust as the ambassador detailed how the chains could deliver punishment, how they monitored her vital signs, how they could even control her actions remotely. Finally, the hegemony delegation departed, leaving Marcus alone with his gift and a growing sense of unease. The docking bay emptied quickly as his crew found excuses to be elsewhere, leaving him standing with Zara in the echoing silence. Are you hungry? Marcus asked quietly. She stared at him with those burning eyes, clearly not expecting the question. Yes. Come on then. Let's get you something to eat. He led her through the station's corridors, acutely aware of how the crew members they passed pressed themselves against the walls, their eyes wide with fear. The stories about the Vorthic were clearly well known throughout human space. Asterisk. The commissary was nearly empty when they arrived, the few diners quickly finishing their meals and departing. Marcus guided Zara to a table in the corner, noting how she moved despite the chains, every step controlled, every gesture economical. A predator's grace, even in captivity. What would you like to eat? Marcus asked, studying the menu display. Whatever you choose, she replied, Her voice uncertain. Marcus ordered 2 servings of synthesized protein and vegetables, along with water. When the food arrived, he set 1 tray in front of her and sat across the table with his own meal. Zara stared at the food as if it might be poisoned, then looked up at Marcus with confusion. "You eat with me? Why wouldn't I? I am ... She paused, searching for words. "I am your property, your weapon. Masters do not eat with their weapons." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "I'm not your master, Zara, and you're not my weapon. Then what am I?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. Marcus looked at this being who had been reduced to a tool, this warrior who had been broken and shaped into something she was never meant to be. "You're a person," he said finally, "and people deserve to be treated with dignity." Zara's eyes widened, and for a moment Marcus saw something crack in her carefully controlled expression. Then she looked down at her food and began to eat, her movements careful and precise. They ate in silence, but Marcus noticed how she watched him, studying his expressions, his body language. She was learning, adapting, trying to understand this human who treated her as something more than a beast. "The chains," Marcus said finally. "Do they hurt?" She paused, a piece of food halfway to her mouth. "Pain is part of the conditioning. It ensures compliance. That's not what I asked." She met his eyes, and for a moment the warrior facade slipped. "Yes, they hurt." Marcus nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." The words seemed to hit her like a physical blow. She stared at him, her burning eyes wide with something that might have been shock. "You ... apologize? To me? You're in pain. That's wrong." "But I am. You're a person," Marcus interrupted. "And no person should be in constant pain just to satisfy someone else's need for control." Zara set down her utensil, her hands trembling slightly. For a moment, Marcus thought she might cry, but instead she straightened, rebuilding her emotional walls. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want you to finish your meal. Then I want to show you where you'll be staying. And then?" Marcus stood, picking up his empty tray. "And we figure out what happens next." He led her to quarters he'd had prepared. Not a cell, but a small apartment with a bed, a desk, and a viewport looking out at the stars. It was modest, but comfortable, more than many of his crew had. "This is yours," Marcus said, gesturing to the room. No surveillance, no guards, just a place to rest. Zara stepped inside, her eyes taking in every detail. She moved to the viewport, staring out at the stars with an expression Marcus couldn't read. "Why?" she asked without turning around. "Because everyone deserves privacy. Everyone deserves a place where they can just ... be." She turned to face him, and Marcus saw tears tracking down her cheeks. "I don't understand you, Marcus-chan." "You don't have to. Not yet." He moved toward the door. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll talk about those chains." As he left, Marcus heard her whisper something in her native language. He didn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a prayer, perhaps, or a promise. Something that sounded like hope. That night, Marcus lay in his own quarters, staring at the ceiling and thinking about burning eyes and chains. That caused pain. The hegemony had given him a weapon, but what he'd found was a person. The question was, what was he going to do about it? In her quarters, Zara stood by the viewport, watching the stars and trying to understand what had happened. To her, for the first time in years, someone had treated her as more than a tool. Someone had apologized for her pain. Someone had given her a choice. She touched the chains that bound her, feeling their constant electric whisper against her skin. Tomorrow, Marcus had said, they would talk about the chains. She didn't dare hope, but for the first time since her capture, she allowed herself to wonder what freedom might feel like. Asterisk the bond forms, The next morning brought its own challenges. Marcus woke to find his communication console flashing with incoming messages from various department heads. The arrival of their gift had sent ripples of unease throughout the station. Chief Engineer Rodriguez was the first to voice concerns. "Commander, the crew is spooked. Half of them are requesting transfers, and the other half are asking for additional security measures." Marcus sipped his coffee, considering his response. "Tell them the situation is under control. Anyone who wants a transfer can file the paperwork, but we're not changing our security protocols. Sir, with respect, maybe we should consider the decision is made, Rodriguez. Pass the word." After dismissing his worried staff, Marcus made his way to Zara's quarters. He found her standing exactly where he'd left her the night before, still, staring out at the stars. She turned when he entered, her expression guarded, but no longer hostile. "Did you sleep?" Marcus asked. "Sleep is difficult." She gestured to the chains. "They ensure alertness." Marcus felt his anger rising again, but kept his voice calm. "Show me." Zara hesitated, then lifted her arms. The chains weren't just binding. Her wrists, they formed a complex network across her torso, each link pulsing with a soft blue light. Where they touched her skin, Marcus could see burn marks, evidence of their constant torment. "My God," Marcus breathed. "How long have you worn these? 3 years, 4 months, 16 days? The precise count spoke volumes about her awareness of her captivity. Marcus circled her slowly, studying the restraints. They were clearly more than simple chains. The technology was beyond anything human science had achieved. Each link seemed to be a separate component, connected by energy fields rather than physical bonds. "What happens if they're removed?" Marcus asked. "The hegemony said I would die. The chains regulate vital functions, suppress aggression, ensure compliance." She paused. "They may be correct, or they may be lying." Zara's eyes widened. "You would risk my life to find out?" "I would risk it to set you free." The words hung between them like a challenge. Marcus could see the war playing out in her expression. Hope battling against years of conditioning, freedom warring with fear. "Why?" she asked finally. "Because freedom is worth the risk. Because no one should live in chains." Before Zara could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The emergency lighting bathed the room in red, and Marcus's communication device crackled to life. "Commander to the bridge immediately. We have multiple bogies inbound. Configuration unknown." Marcus was already moving. "Stay here," he told Zara. "I'll be back." He ran through the corridors, his mind racing. The timing was too convenient. Less than a day after the hegemony's visit, and unknown ships were approaching. Either it was a test or something much worse. The bridge was chaos when he arrived. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Hayes, was bent over the scanner displays, her face pale with concern. "Report," Marcus snapped. 12 ships, Commander. They're running dark. No IFF signals. No response to communications. Configuration matches known pirate vessels. Marcus studied the tactical display. The approaching ships were smaller than the hegemony vessels, but they outnumbered Ironhold's defenses 3-1. Worse, they were moving in a coordinated pattern that suggested military training. "Time to intercept? 18 minutes, sir." Marcus activated the station-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the commander. We have hostile vessels approaching. All civilian personnel to emergency shelters. All defense teams to battle stations. This is not a drill." The next few minutes passed in a blur of activity. Ironhold's defensive systems came online, their weapons tracking the approaching threats. The station's fighter squadron launched, their small craft moving to intercept the pirates before they could reach the facility. Incoming transmission. Hayes reported. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a scarred human face with cybernetic implants replacing one eye. The man's smile was predatory, his voice carrying the casual cruelty of someone who had made violence his profession. Well, well, if it isn't the famous Commander Chun. My name is Captain Voss, and I'm here to collect the debt. I don't owe you anything, Voss. Not you, Commander. Your new pet. The hegemony has a standing bounty on any Vorthik, dead or alive. I figure one kept in chains is worth more than a corpse. Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. The hegemony gave her to me, and now I'm taking her from you. Nothing personal, Chun. Just business. The transmission ended, and Marcus found himself staring at a tactical situation that was rapidly deteriorating. His fighters were outnumbered. His defensive systems were designed for asteroid mining rather than combat, and the pirates knew exactly what they were after. Sir, Hayes said quietly, if we surrender the prisoner, they might let us go. Marcus turned to look at his tactical officer, his expression deadly calm. Lieutenant, if you ever suggest abandoning a member of this crew again, you'll find yourself breathing vacuum. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Good. Now find me a solution. The battle was brutal and brief. The pirates had superior numbers and experience, but they underestimated the determination of the mining station's crew. Marcus watched as his fighters sold their lives dearly, each small craft taking down at least one pirate vessel before being destroyed. But it wasn't enough. The pirates broke through the defensive perimeter, their boarding pods slamming into Ironhold's hull like metal fists. Within minutes, the station was being overrun. Fall back to the command center, Marcus ordered. Seal all blast doors. We make our stand here? His remaining security personnel took positions around the bridge, their weapons trained on the sealed entrances. They could hear the pirates cutting through the outer doors, their plasma torches sending showers of sparks, cascading through the corridors. Commander, Hayes said quietly, we're outgunned. Maybe we should consider. The blast door exploded inward, and the pirates poured through the breach. Marcus drew his sidearm, but he knew it was hopeless. They were outnumbered 10-1, and the pirates had military-grade equipment. Surrender now, Captain Voss announced, stepping through the smoking doorway, and you might live to see tomorrow. Marcus kept his weapon trained on the pirate captain. Go to hell. Voss laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Brave words, Commander. But I'm not here for you. I'm here for the Vorthik. Hand her over, and we'll leave you with your lives. She's not here. No? Then we'll just have to tear your station apart to find her. The pirates began spreading out, securing the bridge and preparing to search the rest of the facility. Marcus watched helplessly as his crew was disarmed and forced to their knees. Everything he'd worked for, everyone he'd sworn to protect, was about to be destroyed. That's when she arrived. The emergency hatch above the command center exploded downward, and Zara dropped through the opening like an angel of death. Her chains were gone. Somehow, impossibly, she had freed herself from the restraints that had bound her for years. She landed in a crouch, her movements fluid and deadly. The pirates turned their weapons on her, but she was already moving. Marcus watched in awe as she demonstrated why the Vorthik had been feared throughout the galaxy. The first pirate died before he could pull the trigger, Zara's hand crushing his throat with casual efficiency. The second managed to fire, but his shot went wide as she spun past him, her elbow striking his temple with enough force to shatter bone. The battle was over in seconds. 12 armed pirates lay dead or unconscious, and Zara stood in the center of the carnage, her chest heaving with exertion. Her skin had shifted to a deep blue, and her eyes burned with an inner fire that spoke of barely contained violence. Captain Voss, the only pirate still conscious, stared at her with undisguised terror. "Impossible," he whispered. You were chained. You were broken. Zara turned to look at him, and Marcus saw something in her expression that made his blood run cold. This was the predator the hegemony had warned him about, the apex warrior who could kill without mercy or hesitation. I was. Never broken, she said quietly. I was waiting. She moved toward Voss, and Marcus saw the pirate's face go white with fear. This was it, the moment when the warrior would claim her revenge, when the predator would feed. Zara, Marcus said quietly. She paused, her head turning to look at him. For a moment, he saw the struggle in her eyes, the warrior's instinct for vengeance warring against something else. He's beaten, Marcus said. It's over. She stared at him for a long moment, then stepped back from the cowering pirate. Yes, she said. It's over. The cleanup took hours. The remaining pirates were secured in the station's brig, their ships impounded. The casualties were lighter than Marcus had expected. Most of his crew had survived, though several were wounded. In all, Zara remained at his side, her presence a source of comfort and strength. She had saved them all, but more than that, she had chosen mercy over vengeance. The chains were gone, but her bonds to the station and its crew had grown stronger. Night, Marcus found her in the observation deck, staring out at stars. She had changed clothes, trading the torn garments of her kibitee for a simple station uniform. Without the chains, she looked smaller, more vulnerable. How did you get free? Marcus asked. The chains were designed to suppress aggression, too. Prevent violence. But when you were threatened, when the people who showed me kindness were in danger, ... double quotes, she shrugged. The programming couldn't override the need to protect. And now? Now I am free, truly free for the first time in years. Marcus moved to stand beside her, their shoulders almost touching. What will you do with that freedom? Zara was quiet for a long moment, her burning eyes reflecting the starlight. I could leave. Take a ship, find some distant corner of the galaxy where the hegemony will never find me. But I have found something here I never expected to. I have found a home. People who see me as more than a weapon, more than a monster. She turned to look at him. I choose to stay. I choose to protect this place, these people. And me? Her smile was radiant, transforming her face from something fearsome to something beautiful. Especially you, Marcus Chun. You gave me back my name, my dignity, my freedom. I will guard your sleep until the stars burn out. Marcus felt something warm bloom in his chest, a connection deeper than simple gratitude or alliance. The hegemony will come back. They'll want to know what happened to their gift. Let them come. They will find not a chained beast, but a free warrior choosing her own battles. And if they try to take you? Zara's expression hardened, and for a moment, Marcus saw the predator again. Then they will learn why the Vorthik were feared throughout the galaxy. They will learn that some gifts cannot be returned. As they stood together in the starlight, Marcus realized that the hegemony's gift had indeed transformed his station, but not in the way they had intended. They had given him a weapon, but what he had found was a guardian. They had sent him a beast in chains, but she had become the one who would guard his bed at night. The stars wheeled overhead, ancient and eternal, witness to the bond forming between two souls who had found in each other something worth fighting. FOR. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, filled with powers that would crush the weak and enslave the strong. But on a small mining station at the edge of human space, freedom had found a champion, and love had found a way. Asterisk.